Fight fans, my name is Flyin Brian J, and obviously we're here to talk about Rowdy Ronda Rousey. Yesterday, Dana White went on the Unfiltered podcast with Matt Serra and Jim Norton, and he said that Ronda Rousey is probably done fighting. He had talked to her before going on the show, and he said that she's in good spirits, she's in a good place, but she's ready to move on to the next chapter of her life. So what I want to know from you is she really done fighting? After she got knocked out by Holly Holm back in November of 2015, I thought that she might be done fighting. But then she did come back and she fought Amanda Nunes in December 30th of 2016, and she lost in 48 seconds. And going into that fight, it was said that whether she won or lost, she was probably done fighting, and she got absolutely obliterated. So Dana White saying that Ronda Rousey is probably done fighting should come as no surprise to any of us. But there's one caveat. There's one thing that makes me suspicious about this. Is rule number one of being a fight fan is you don't trust Dana White. Rule number two is you don't talk about Dana White. I'm kidding. But really, if Dana White said it, can we really believe that it's true? Well, this time I do believe it's true, but I do have some suspicion because Dana White said it. One thing that we can think of why she might come back and why she might not actually be done with fighting is that she hasn't said anything about it yet. Until I hear the news from the horse's mouth, I'm basically going to think that maybe there's a chance that she comes back. But going into the Amanda Nunes fight, her staying away from all kinds of media, it was a pretty good indication that she wasn't in the right mindset, in the right place. So then when she got knocked out and she just left without doing an interview, well, Joe Rogan said he doesn't want to interview knocked out fighters anymore. But still, that right there was an indication to me that she could really be done fighting. She doesn't have the mindset to do it. Also on the Unfiltered podcast, Dana White said that she is financially stable. She will never need money again with how much money she's already made in her career. Well, that's probably one reason why she would walk away, but that could also be a reason why she didn't look great in those last two fights. A person gets to the peak of the sport, and they get a lot of money in their pockets. I think this is a similar case with Anthony Showtime Pettis. They don't want to train as hard as they used to. They don't want to get better in the areas where they're not necessarily that comfortable, so on and so forth. But we should talk about something of what Ronda Rousey is going to leave for a legacy. She was the last Strikeforce women's bantamweight champion. She was the first UFC women's bantamweight champion, and she was the first pay-per-view queen, let's call it. Before Conor McGregor, she was in there bringing in the eyeballs, and she was the reason why Dana White added the women's bantamweight division in the first place. Back in, it was 2013, before that, 2012, when she beat Miesha Tate to snag the Women's Strikeforce Bantamweight Championship. She wasn't in the number one contender spot to get a title fight, but she set up a thing where she wanted to go on Ariel Helwani's The MMA Hour and have a discussion with Miesha Tate where basically she talks shit and kind of, gave a verbal or a tongue lashing to Miesha Tate, and that right there provided a lot of views on the sport. Then she went out there and snagged the belt from Miesha Tate, and that was the catalyst that took Dana White from going on TMZ saying women would never fight under the UFC banner to, we're going to add the women's bantamweight division to the Ultimate Fighting Championships. And, I guess you could say the rest is history, but she should have a long-standing time with being on people's lists of the MMA Mount Rushmore. She was one of the originators of propelling women's fighting into the limelight, and you know what? She was pretty damn dominant. Having a dominant champion like her as a heel, mind you, people loved her because of her beauty, because she would end fights in quicker than snot timing, right? And then she was also the heel, so that was the perfect storm to breed this person who was, again, a pay-per-view boom and a really, really... Marcus Ling, she didn't get the payouts like McGregor. She was a bargain payout-wise. Well, she was also here before we had Reebok, so she could get outside sponsorships, and we know that Dana White loves to give out the locker room bonuses. Let's go over a few more of her accolades. 8 of Ronda Rousey's 12 professional victories ended in under a minute, and all of her professional victories were via stoppage. Now, her last 2 obviously got stopped, but we should remember her for the things prior to that. This leaves us to be like, hey, where are the stars in mixed martial arts, right? Conor McGregor is doing who knows what, saying F this, F that, F everything. I'm going to go fight Floyd Money Mayweather. He got a boxing license just so that he could have some... I think he's trying to go for the Ali Act so that the UFC can't like control his matchmaking, and so that he can go do other things or whatever. But so now Conor McGregor's doing some weird shit. Johnny Bones Jones can't get out of his own way. And then Ronda Rousey, now she's probably done. We don't know for certain. She hasn't said it herself, but she's probably done. Where does the UFC go from here? Do we have any stars that can bring limelight to our favorite sport? It's definitely my favorite sport. I hope it is yours too. Well, people were saying that when Chuck Liddell was losing his chin and getting knocked out a whole bunch. People were saying that when Anderson Silva lost to Chris Weidman. Oh, Silva's lost now. The UFC's going to fall to the wayside. It's going to go into the trash. But we just keep reloading with these stars. We just keep putting in another person, bringing them to the top, and they continue to bring light on our favorite sport. Yes, Ronda Rousey needs to be thought of on a high level because of what she did for women's MMA, for what she did for the sport as a whole. But we will find another star. We will move on. We will reload the chamber and continue. This sport will continue to grow and continue to get eyes on it. Joe Blossom. Who really cares what Ronda Rousey is going to do? Stop talking about her. Wade Hunter. Yeah, she's done. Florian Jobs. She's still got millions. Yeah, man. That's one reason why she's out of here. Jose Aldo is also going to get his boxing license. Yeah, but Isaac Chavez, we're getting off topic, but I'll touch on this. Do we really care if Jose Aldo is going to get a boxing license? No, because he doesn't have the drawing power of even Daniel Cormier, probably. Even though he was undefeated for 10 years or whatever, Jose Aldo is not a draw to the casual fans. One, he doesn't speak English, or at least fluent English. He refuses to talk a whole bunch of smack. His fighting style, while he did finish people a long time ago, once the sport turned into a really popular thing, he wasn't finishing people. You know, he's doing a lot of decisions. He does have a really dynamic style, but it's not one that gets eyes on the sport. So Eric Yoakum, if Garbrandt wins his next two fights, he'll be a marquee money fight. Good point, Eric Yoakum. He is very, very marketable, except for he's not the greatest at talking. He does have a phenomenal fighting style, but you can sell him with the angle that he looks like this bad mamma jamma. And then he has the leukemia survivor, what's his name? Maxim? No. Marquise? No. Whatever that dude's name is, right? So he has that going for him. You sell him as this bad mother fudger, but he's a really good guy at the same time. And Fong Wen. Yes, I am Edward Snowden. I'll tell you all of America's secrets. Jack Lydon, I'm done with her. Florian Jobs, yep, ain't nobody cares about him. Let's see what else. Bruh, stop talking. MMA on Ice. If she comes back, she will fight Jessica Andrade. Hope that's a joke, my friend. Think about this. If she were to come back, who are we going to matchmake her against? I would hate to see her against Juliana Pena, because that would give Juliana Pena a big old platform to spit out some of those really ignorant and moronic comments that she likes to spit out. But at the same time, that is definitely a winnable fight for Ronda Rousey, because Juliana wants to play Ronda's game, and Ronda is probably better at it. So if she isn't done fighting, that's probably the match that we should probably make. Being a little redundant. Lady JD, thought the same. Who cares? Who cares? What about Max Holloway? I don't think he's a draw. I really don't. Love his style. Love his style of fighting. I don't think that he'll ever be a draw. I don't think that he will ever get the credit that he deserves for his really dynamic fighting abilities. He's pretty good on the mic. He's a well-spoken guy. He's respectful. He's respectable. But I don't think that he'll ever, get over that hump and become a household name, like to the casual fans at least, to Conor McGregor, to Rowdy Ronda Rousey. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I don't really believe Dana White, because I just don't ever believe Dana White. I was thinking this before Dana White said it. I said it on every video that I did for this channel, leading up to Amanda Nunes versus Ronda Rousey, that she was done regardless, and I thought that she was going to get mollywopped. She got mollywopped, and now she's probably done. But, since Dana White said it, now I'm skeptical, because the dude likes to lie to us. Michael Hooper, what about Cowboy? He just got obliterated. He is a fan favorite, but he'll never turn that corner. He just won't. He got obliterated, man. John Jones shouldn't get the title win with Rumble versus DC. Yes, he should. Absolutely, he should. I mean, he's the biggest draw probably outside of Rowdy Ronda and Conor McGregor, right? Maybe, you would think. Craig Valentine, Joanna Jedrzejczyk or Jędrzejczyk is the next big thing you watch. She is a beast. She has a super fun style of fighting. She's well spoken. She's good looking. She's foreign. She speaks multiple languages. The thing of it is, lately when she's been fighting girls like at the top tier, Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Valerie Letourneau before that, while the contests for hardcore fans were extremely exciting to watch because of the technicality that each opponent brought a super specific style of game that made for a very intriguing and highly technical bout. It just wasn't maybe casual fan friendly. I had some friends over that watched Letourneau versus Joanna Champion, and they hated it. So, she's not going to get over that hump unless we get her some fights where she's really going to tune some mother fudgers up. What about Conor? What about Conor? The Celtic kid, Jake Matthews, he's a fun fighter to watch. Really dynamic, young guy. He could be the next something. She's one big KO away from GOAT talk. I mean, maybe. Josh Smathers, what are your thoughts on Conor McGregor versus Floyd Money Mayweather? Before Saturday, I would have said we're all morons for even talking about that fight possibly happening. But then Conor McGregor had that press conference that he said 5,000 people were in attendance. I would love to see the pay-per-view buy numbers. It was just $5 to see his press conference, which is still a lot of money to see somebody talk, but nonetheless, there we are. So he said a bunch of stuff, and then Floyd Mayweather countered and said, that he thinks that's a fight that the fans want to see. And those two things combined made me think, gee, dang it, maybe this fight is actually going to happen. Conor McGregor having that boxing license, if he could be protected under the Ali Act, and they make that fight happen, especially if it were to be under like Floyd Mayweather Promotions and it happens in a boxing ring, I think that it wouldn't really hurt Conor McGregor's brand because he's not a boxer. If he goes in there and gets mollywopped against Floyd Mayweather, it's going to bring a ton of eyes and neither guy really loses their shine. But if Conor goes in there and somehow, I don't think he would, but if he were to knock out Floyd Mayweather, then we're talking about maybe either MMA getting way bigger because then we'll have boxing fans and all kinds of just casual fans coming over because of Conor McGregor, or maybe that would be like the end of McGregor in MMA because then he'd make a shit ton of money on that deal. Let's see. Conor will not win in boxing. He will not win in boxing. You're right. He definitely won't. But let's say this. I know that Floyd Mayweather likes to use big boxing gloves when he's boxing because he likes to protect his hands. He's more of a defensive boxer than a knock you out kind of boxer, so he likes to use heavier gloves, more padding, right? Let's say that they were to use boxing gloves but lighter. Then Conor McGregor has a chance. I don't know what the weights are. What do we got? 8, 10, 12 maybe? And Floyd Money Mayweather likes to wear the 12 ounces. If we get them 8-ounce gloves, Conor McGregor has a way bigger chance of getting that knockout. But if we're using Floyd's regular gloves and we're doing it in Floyd's ring, Conor McGregor really has no chance. But, I mean, I don't know. We talk about it so often that it's almost worth talking about simply because there's so much buzz around it. This fight that I thought would never be possible, but they're right in the realm of the weight class. Floyd even said that they would fight at 150 pounds, which is right between Conor's two MMA weight classes. And it just feels like it might happen. But at the same time, I feel like an imbecile for even talking about it because it probably won't happen, but we're inching closer to maybe it happening. Eric Yoakum, the Floyd fight won't happen ever. He put off Manny for a decade and cost them both tens of millions. However, he can easily get a fight with Manny or Triple G with the UFC promoting. Think about this, though, Eric. Thank you for the comment. Buddy, you realize the live at the top of the screen blocks some of your writing. It just says, I guess. So next time I'll move it. Sorry, Joshua. But it just says, is Ronda Rousey done with fighting? Floyd uses 8-ounce gloves typically, although he's used 10s a few times. Okay. So I just want, it would increase Conor McGregor's chances by like what? 3% if we give them the smaller gloves, because then he has a better chance of knocking him out. If the fight were to happen with MMA gloves, I think Conor McGregor would win. Probably, maybe. Probably not. Who knows? What do I think is the best up and coming fighter? Do you mean fighter? Because if we're talking up and coming with being young in MMA or young in the UFC, Lando Groovy Venata. That is a man who has 2 UFC fights, I believe. Incredible fun style that it could get a lot of casual fans' eyes on it. He has a really fun personality, confident dude, has a swagger about him, and just show the highlights of him knocking dudes out or almost knocking out Tony Okukui Ferguson. The cool nickname, the aura around the man. I think that he is an up-and-coming guy that could be, next up for some limelight. Up-and-coming fight. Most exciting fight. Well, I just saw that Michael the Count Bisping is scheduled to fight. Not scheduled, but he is definitely next for Yoel, the Soldier of God Romero. Super pumped for that one. I'm really pumped for Rumble versus DC, but for really, really soon, I'm looking forward to Anderson Silva versus Derek Brunson, because although Brunson does hit hard and he is a lot younger and Anderson Silva is a shell of his former self, it's a fantastic stylistic matchup for Anderson Silva because he's a counter striker through and through. Derek Brunson is always overextending himself, just like Forrest Griffin did when he fought Anderson Silva. Now, that was a different Silva, probably a juiced up Silva, a way younger Silva, a Silva that had a better chin. But I'm saying that Anderson could counter Derek and get that knockout at an old age, and I would love to see him ride off into the sunset. Yeah, Michael Bisping is going to get knocked out by Yoel Romero, and I'm excited about it. For super close coming up, tonight I will publish my preview prediction video for TKZ, the Korean Zombie, versus Dennis the Menace Bermudez. I will have that up tonight on MMA Mania's YouTube channel, so if you're not subscribed there already, please do so. And then in the days to come, it'll publish on Facebook, but they will always publish to YouTube first, so please check those out. The Korean Dooho Choi, Wonder Boy's future looks bright as well. Dooho Choi needs to get some defensive striking, and then maybe he can do well. But he's got no defensive striking. Yes, he is in super exciting fights, but he takes a shit ton of damage. That style can only take you so far. Shane Lewis Rail, the love train. Of course, the stars are great for getting eyes in the sport, but they also seem to play a part in UFC becoming WWF rather than a true sport. Yes, especially in the WME, IMG era of the sport. I love saying hashtag not my UFC owners. WME, IMG are turning the UFC into more sports entertainment rather than sport. Anderson Silva said it. Andy says a ton of goofy, crazy stuff, but on that statement, he was right on point. A little bit that's weird. One, that we're talking about this, so there's not a whole lot of news going on. Two, it seems to be a fad lately to just stick a microphone in Anderson Silva's face and ask him goofy questions, and that makes headlines. That tells you that dude is still a pretty big draw. He hasn't won a fight since, 2012? It's crazy. Michael Hooper, I'm English and I can't wait. Glad he has done what he has done, but bye-bye Bisping. Who poses the biggest challenge to Amanda Nunes? John Noss. I'm hoping it's Noss, bro. I'm picking Valentina Shevchenko to beat Amanda Nunes. Now, both of them have improved a lot since their fight in March, but that first fight, Shevchenko won the third round, and we can only assume, I guess assuming stuff, you know what that does, but if that fight where they fought the first time would have went 5 rounds, Shevchenko probably would have won a decision. I think that she has the striking prowess to hang with Nunes early, and then if she can survive that early onslaught of Nunes, I think that Shevchenko will take the belt. And then she is so technical and well-rounded with a solid gas tank, powerful with her lower body. I think that Shevchenko could have a couple of defenses, but Dillashaw or Garbrandt, I said after Garbrandt and Dillashaw both fought at, what was it, 206, that I'm going to be picking Dillashaw because just the style. He's not the same as Dominic Cruz, where he likes to shift in and get out. He will actually land with power, and I just think that the diversity that he has will be enough to win a decision over Garbrandt. But if it's true what they say, that Garbrandt was knocking out TJ Dillashaw in practice, that's a horse of a different color. I will, of course, be doing film study in the lead-up, but my initial reaction is that Cody No Love will lose a decision to the former and then new champion in TJ Dillashaw. Eric Yoakum, I'm also excited to see what Ngannou does for the heavyweight division as well. Him versus Derek Lewis would be awesome to see. Eric, I think that the next match that we should make for Francis Ngannou, he did call out Cain Velasquez, and Cain will be available to fight from his neck surgery, I believe, in April. So, I mean, I guess that's easy matchmaking if you want to go with the call out. But if we're not doing that, I would like to see Francis fight the winner of Travis Brown versus Derek the Black Beast Lewis. I think that either of those guys would probably lose to Ngannou, but that would just take Ngannou to the next step. Or what we could do is, if he does fight Cain Velasquez, well then obviously if he wins that one, he gets a title shot. But if you go Derek Lewis, then I don't think you get a title shot off Derek Lewis. But Alistair Overeem is scheduled to fight Mark Hunt soon. If he were to get the winner of that fight and then win that fight, then he definitely deserves a title shot. But yes, he is a guy to look forward to in the future of the heavyweight division. Super exciting guy. He looks like a creative character, power for days. Foreign guy, so he should be marketable in that way. But me and Kanta, I love it. Yes, Alfredo. All right, if you're just joining us, we're talking about Ronda Rousey being done with fighting. Dana White said on the Unfiltered podcast yesterday with Matt Serra and Jim Norton that Ronda Rousey is probably done. She's happy with where she is in life, and she's ready to move on to the next chapter. Her wallet is fat. Her ego is broken, and so her spirits are good, and so she's probably done with the sport. I think she is, in fact, done with the sport, but I will leave... sorry for saying too much. I got to get over that. But I will leave my final verdict for when she actually says it. Dana White, we can't believe anything that man says. He says Anderson Silva will not be fighting at UFC 200. The next day, guess what's announced? Anderson Silva fighting Daniel Cormier at UFC 200. So, maybe tomorrow Ronda Rousey will come out and announce that she's coming back to the octagon, because we can't believe anything that Dana White says. That's rule number one of being a fight fan. Michael Hooper, she cannot come back after that last fight. She got mauled. She got mollywopped. She got destroyed. She got whooped. Yeah, I mean, yes, she can come back, especially if you give her somebody like Juliana Pena, who's really good at talking, but it's not good at talking shit, but she's willing to talk shit. Sell that fight. It's Ronda Rousey. You get somebody talking a bunch of smack. Pena goes out there, wants to play Ronda's game. Ronda armbars her, and then she can retire on a win. And then she can get her ego back, and then, we're going to see Ronda in WWE starting with WrestleMania. I'm not going to see her in WWE. Don't watch that nonsense. How long have we been going here, folks? Probably too long. Well, I think it's probably time for me to get out of here. I got to finish my TKZ versus Dennis Bermudez video. It, once again, will be up on YouTube whenever I'm done editing the darn thing. So please subscribe to MMAmania.com on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Flyin Brian J. I also have a YouTube account. Just go to FlyinBrianJ.com. Brad Hanks. What's up, Brad? Do you think she should have taken a different fight when she came back against Amanda Nunes? No. Yes and no. Mostly no, because she was only going to come back for the title. She was thinking about being done prior to the last fight. And so she wasn't going to come back and think about how bad we would be thinking about Ronda Rousey if she comes back for a non-title fight and loses that one. At least it was a title fight, I guess. But for Ronda, for her, what she wanted was title shot or bust. And I guess you could say that a Ronda Rousey fight would have sold as good as it did with or without a title. That's true. So she could have taken an easier fight, got a victory, and then retired. But I I think that, you know what, if there was a different champion at the top, that would have been a different story for Ronda. Like even Shevchenko. I think Shevchenko will beat Nunes, but I think that Shevchenko would have been an easier fight for Ronda. So I guess I'm on the fence, Brad. I don't think there would have been a diminished value that much, Eric, because, like I said, Ronda Rousey's name sells with or without a title. So you could have put, like, Ronda Rousey in the main event, 5-rounder against, I don't know, I keep coming back to Juliana Pena, and put, who's in next? Amanda Nunes versus whoever else in the co-main event, maybe Holly Holm, co-main event, and then it sells just as many pay-per-views, and then Ronda has an easier opponent. So we could have done that, but hindsight, and all that jazz. But in short, I don't think that she should have taken a different fight. She was not going to have a tune-up fight. At the time, it seemed like she didn't deserve the title fight because she got mollywopped before. But she is Ronda Rousey, so she had the name value to get whatever the hell she wanted, basically. And that's what she wanted, so I guess we gave it to her. Once again, subscribe over there. Follow me on Twitter at Flyin Brian J. When is Nick Diaz going to fight? All right, I'll keep talking. So Dana White also on the same podcast where he said that Ronda Rousey's done fighting. He was asked if Nick Diaz is going to fight soon. They offered Nick Diaz Robbie Lawler. He turned it down. They offered him Damian Maia. He turned it down. So he could fight any minute now, but he doesn't want to. He only wants, I don't know what he wants. So it's difficult. If you're turning down Robbie Lawler and Damian Maia, that's something. And so Dana White said since he turned down both of those fights, he's going to offer those fights to Jorge Masvidal. So I would like to see Masvidal versus Lawler, but I really think Damian Maia deserves a title shot, but I don't know. Nick Diaz, he's off doing his own thing. I don't know if he wants to fight. I don't know what the hell's going on there. If he returns, I want to see him against Robbie Lawler. I mean, that's a rematch that everybody wants to see. Like, back in 2008, I don't know how long it was ago, actually, but Nick Diaz, he knocked out Robbie Lawler before everyone knew about Nick Diaz's boxing. At the time, he goes in there, he's billed as a jiu-jitsu guy, Gracie jiu-jitsu fighter, without any boxing, without any striking skills, and just mollywopped Robbie Lawler on the feet. Now, here we are, 2017. I want to see the rematch. But those are two of the biggest fights you could possibly get outside of a title shot. He was even offered a title shot against Tyron Woodley. Didn't want that. So what does he want? I don't know. So, sorry, John. I have no idea. That guy's an anomaly. Maybe he just wants a shit ton of money. Nick wants Conor. I'm not going to get it. Not going to get that. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done here. Share this, and I'm going to put up a picture in front of my face so that other people can vote, and then we'll see the vote, and it'll be all kinds of fun. So please share it around, and yep, I'm out. Peace, y'all. Namaste.